3,000 miles from home, trying to say that I will get there soon.
My preparation to be doing this project here was actually sailing. If we want to do a project on an island, well, we need to have a boat. So here we are, completely off the grid, completely decentralized, and we're trying to become sustainable on ourselves.
Paradise.
And that is what makes this project unique, because not many people have had that
That's
starting
one
point.
of the unique aspects,
One of
aren't
the
you? There's a few more unique aspects to it. Can we talk about another one, the fact that you don't cook anything? Everything is raw, including the meat.
Of course, there's never a perfect life, but there's definitely something close to it. And I think we've reached it, I think.
'Cause this way is my home.
Hello and welcome. You join me in the Anambas Islands in the South China Sea, an extremely remote group of islands in Indonesia, which you'll struggle to find on any map. But more specifically, we are anchored in a bay beside 3 of the 255 island groups in the Anambas, one of which boasts Anambas and possibly Indonesia's newest Airbnb. We're excited to introduce you to some new friends of ours, former sailors who rocked up here 5 years ago and are slowly transforming this place into a off-grid, self-sufficient, net zero lagoon paradise. And you can enjoy it too. You can come, relax, learn, wind down and enjoy what they have to offer, but with a twist. Everything's raw. The fruit, the vegetables, the fish, the meat.
So Archie, thank you for accepting our request to come and visit you, because we turned up unannounced in the lagoon there and you were very welcoming. Even more grateful that you're prepared to talk about what you're doing here.
Well, actually, I would return, the thank you to you. I'm always very, very happy to meet great people like you guys.
Thank you.
And in particular to tell our story.
Yeah.
Because what we're doing here is not just me trying to live my personal dream, but it really is about giving people new ideas and options and show them possibilities, how life can be different. And the more people find out about that, the more people learn about that, the closer I get to my personal goal, which is really making an impact in this world. Yeah. So my preparation to be doing this project here was actually sailing. If we want to do a project on an island, well, we need to have a boat. Roman, my partner, who is still a sailor by heart, a French guy, came across a trimaran in Lorient that was in bits and pieces and affordable, an ex-Orma 60. The moment he had the money to buy it, he got it and spent another year fixing it up, getting it going. And then we sailed out of Lorient with the goal to sail all the way here to Asia. We made it all the way to Panama, but unfortunately, after leaving the boat in Panama for a few months, it turned out that the boat was not sustaining the heat. The foam core of this beautiful trimaran started melting, so that boat unfortunately did not go all the way here. It's again been sold. These extensive sailing experiences really were an extraordinary preparation for myself and my family and also the children to be living in the environment, to be living the life that we're living here right now. And I think overall it teaches people, to stand on their own feet, to take charge of their lives, and that's exactly what this project is about, and that's what we're trying to teach people, to come back to their common sense. When you're sailing, you have to use your common sense, because you can't ask, people. You need to find all the solutions to yourself.
This is such an extraordinary, seemingly to us unique situation that you have created here. and it's a little micro paradise within this big archipelago paradise. Do you know what I mean? It's really extraordinary.
Let me frame it in another way. So the Anambas is indeed one of the most beautiful untouched places left on this planet.
Yeah.
Luckily, there are only about 40,000 people living on 600 islands. Yeah? So it's a very, very low impact living, and thank God this is why we still have clear water and beautiful beaches, even though there is more plastic than there should be.
Sure.
But our goal with this project was to integrate people into this paradise without destroying it. It's because most places in the world, to preserve nature, you have to eliminate the people and create a conservation where the people are gone. But where do we go in the world like that? We cannot just eliminate the people everywhere. We have to find solutions. So we're trying to integrate human beings into this natural setting in a way where we are enhancing biodiversity, where we're not producing garbage, but whatever, in quotation marks, waste we are producing is actually nourishment for the plants that we're growing here.
So you've got a net zero outcome in terms of all that.
That is our goal.
That's the buzzword, isn't it? Net zero.
I would say, how about we make it actually a positive? Zero is neutral, okay?
Yeah.
But we need to do better than zero.
Yeah.
We need to actually positive enhance, yeah? So this place here, before we came here, was a coconut plantation.
Yep.
Nothing other than that. Now, we have built structures using natural materials, and we've created a system of power supply. We have, solar power. We have a well, so we have plenty of water. And we have started to integrate a lot more trees, food-bearing trees. The goal is to create a food forest where as much as possible of the food growing here can actually, sustain the people.
Is edible,
which will take more years to come.
Sure.
Yeah. Our waste or garbage, again, is compost, which is biomass, which will allow more plants to grow. And here we want to create a positive reinforcing cycle where the longer we are here, the more biodiversity this island will have, and the more people it will be able to sustain in a positive manner.
Yeah. Hello, Licky. This is Licky, I reckon. Looks, everything's Licky. Very Licky. Okay, so I've been given the onerous task, the very important task of picking up flowers and to transfer them to the chickens. Because the chickens like eating flowers, papaya flowers. In fact, they're male papaya flowers. I've just discovered there are male and female papaya plants. Would you believe it? How would you know, eh? Well, you know now, people, and that is a male papaya flower. You're welcome. Here's a very good example of the female flower. It's much bigger and less prolific, but pretty much every flower turns into a papaya. Can they not understand English?
Nope.
What's wrong with them? Here we go. Look at that. Oh, take a time.
So we are in the chicken compound. The interesting thing about these chickens is that they're raising their own chickens, so they have a reliable source of healthy birds that they can eat raw. You wouldn't want to eat a chicken that you picked up in the supermarket because you don't know how it was raised. They know what these chickens eat, and therefore they feel safe eating them raw. What's lovely about this little brood of chickens though, the ducks aren't very good at raising their chicks. They haven't been able to raise any chicks with the ducks. So they moved the duck eggs under a chicken, and one of them survived, but that duck now thinks it's a chicken and refuses to go back with the ducks. So it spends all its time here in the chicken coop.
I started raising rabbits about 1.5 years ago, but in the beginning we were struggling to just keep them alive.
Yeah.
So we didn't butcher them too often.
Okay.
Actually, we didn't butcher them at all. We only started butchering them probably about roughly a year ago when we finally figured out how to make sure they properly reproduce and grow to a decent size for us to butcher them.
Yeah. And you tend to weigh them before and after you've butchered them now, don't you?
Yes, I like to. Just to see which mom produces the babies with the fastest growth rates and the most meat to like organs and that stuff.
And to be clear, you do eat them raw, you don't cook them.
Yes, we do eat them raw.
Yeah, yeah.
Very skilled. You're very skilled, Cosima.
Yeah. Well, I have to be.
Look at that.
And then all of a sudden you have a
Oh, rabbit.
skinned rabbit.
When we first arrived on the island, there wasn't a water supply, and we were a bit concerned whether if we drill down deep enough, we'd then get like salt water and stuff. However, we did not need to. Behind where the beach area is, the locals showed us that if you take like banana leaves and put them on the ground, the day after, you can check how much condensation there is underneath, and that the place with the most condensation probably has the most water. So there were like a couple spots here. One of the spots they dug and they found rocks, but the second one was this one, which they dug, and they only dug 4 meters and we got water. So yeah, no problem with salt at all, and we have a nice well now.
How we influence nature we live in is very strongly impacted of how, of course, we live in our general lifestyle, but also of what we eat. So that is one of the kind of core elements that we have changed here, and where we are proposing a new solution. And this is almost like a piece of a demonstration platform here, like a pilot project, where we can show how we can potentially, with a different solution, come to different outcomes. So the world population currently is receiving the majority of its caloric necessity from staple foods. All of those are agricultural crops that require deforestation. But all we're getting from these foods are carbohydrates, yes indeed. Now there is an alternative for us to receive carbohydrates, which is through tree fruits, which is through fruits. The experiment that we're running here is that my family as a starting point, and potentially people joining us here can experience that with us. They don't have to, but they can if they choose to, where we are living without these staple foods entirely. Myself, I've started this experiment when I was 19, so that's over 30 years ago now. I've raised 2 beautiful children, they're now teenagers, entirely without staple foods, and we've replaced the carbohydrates with fruits. This version of raw food, we call it, by the way, Gene Fit Nutrition, and we've published a book about Gene Fit Nutrition. Gene Fit Nutrition as the nutrition to which we are genetically adapted to. That is why we can use our nutritional instinct, because we are going back into the food environment of our natural habitat. We are listening to our body, and so the reason why we eat raw food and we don't process our food is because we want to listen entirely to our body. And by just transforming food even in the slightest way, we can't trust our body anymore, because we would be tricking our body. So you can just try to go like that.
So that is aged liver. It's a week old. Been sitting in the fridge.
Of course. Oh yeah, absolutely. You have some smell to it?
Yeah. It smells like fruit. I'm smelling fruit.
I mean,
was that on my fingers? From eating fruit? No. I'm smelling fruit. Okay. Whoa.
I'm telling you, there is some flavor to that.
There's some serious flavour there.
So you want some more?
Mm-mm.
No? No? Okay.
Not so flavorful.
So it's intense, right? It's like super, super spicy.
It is. Spicy, and I'm starting, I have to say this, I'm starting to taste the taste of liver as I know it, as cooked.
Right.
But only a really mild version of it, really mild cooked liver.
What we do here is we put all the foods that we have out, but that doesn't mean that we eat everything, right? So we actually pick and choose. But since every person listens to their own body what to eat, everybody will actually pick and choose according to their own bodies.
Yeah.
And so by making a buffet, everybody has the opportunity to find what they want. It's true, we have a lot of animal foods here right now, which we don't always have. Sometimes, we have more, sometimes less. I mean, but let's say it's not because we have them here now that we eat animal foods all the time.
Sure.
Yeah. So I may eat them once or twice a week, depending. Cozy is quite the meat eater, Alatea eats it less. Everybody goes by their bodies, and in different phases of your life you have different needs.
Sure,
like
you can have more of something at one point in your
when
time.
you're in like a major growth spurt, suddenly you may eat a lot more protein-rich foods than at a time when you're not. So my job is to get the highest quality of foods in their most original and natural form, and then people just enjoy. But a big part, of course, also is eating vegetables. We do eat a lot of fruits, but usually we eat those at lunchtime. So we don't eat fruits that much with protein and fatty rich foods.
And lunch is your first meal?
Lunch is our first meal, which usually is like an 11-ish kind of a brunch kind of a thing.
Yeah.
We pretty much follow what modern terms are now calling intermittent fasting. So we pretty much eat like a 6 o'clock dinner, and then we eat an 11 o'clock lunch or so, and then we have another dinner. So
that's it. Yeah.
Just two simple meals.
So what have you got there, Rach?
This is the beef, and I ate a lot of raw beef as a kid because I just loved raw mince. Probably at a time when I shouldn't have been eating raw mince because Britain had that mad cow disease through the 80s, and I was eating.
Explains it.
That's when I was eating all the raw meat. That's nice. I like raw meat. Oh, more beef.
Raw beef, yeah.
Here's the line.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just had some of the beef?
Yeah, it's nice.
You want to try some?
Yeah, maybe. I'm just going to have a very, very small piece.
It's nice.
Alright.
Alright.
Down the hatch. Yeah, I mean, it just does taste like beef.
Yeah. It tastes like
but like,
strangely enough.
Like, not as strong as like cooked beef.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's more subtle, isn't it?
Yeah. So the reason there's a big chirping in the room is because they found a bird that has been with us now for a few days, and it's very hungry. Look at it. And it never stops. Well, actually it does stop. Once you've filled its beak up enough, at some point...
It's not eating those right now.
Oh, it doesn't want them. It's going to throw this one out again. Okay. Well,
It's eating banana and drinking water right now.
little birdie is selecting its food choices. So here we go. Let's try that banana. That goes. Okay. If you give it the wrong food at the wrong time, it will just throw it out again.
That's crazy.
I had not realized that even these birds, even in baby stage, will select their food. More. Piece not big enough yet. Okay. Here comes a bigger piece. Wow, that's maybe too big. Oops, no, that fell off. Ah, finally we're calming down a little bit.
Yeah. So that's the rabbit, Rob?
That's the rabbit. That was slaughtered and butchered today. Now really you should hang this for a day or 2 or 3, really.
Yeah, 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Is best, but
But
it's still good.
still okay, yeah. Okay, here goes.
Taste.
It's good.
You want some more?
I don't think.
You want some more?
Sounds like a no. Your silence sounds like that was way harder than I thought it
No,
was.
it was just it was chewy. I mean, it was really chewy, and but it was fine. It was totally. I had no gag reflex at all. There you go.
The standard.
The reason why we eat things raw, number one, is because the nutritional instinct in human beings can only function and express itself in a proper manner with natural foods that have not been tampered with or processed in whatsoever form.
In any form.
In any form.
Yeah.
So that even means if you eat an orange, you can potentially, cut that orange and peel that orange, but from the moment on you juice that orange, your body gets confused.
Right.
I'm going to be a little bit more specific what that means. So we have a nose that sits right next to our mouth.
Yeah.
And we have a sense of taste that is very, very defined. Yeah. So an animal that is attracted to a food will actually notice that food, especially mammal, by sense of smell.
Yep.
And at some point, it will stop eating that food. Like I have dogs here, and one of their favorite foods is tuna, fresh raw tuna. They will go crazy for that tuna, and at some point, I will give them another piece of tuna, and their mouth just stays shut.
Yeah.
Because they just can't open their mouth anymore
Yeah.
to take in one more piece. So their bodies can only eat that raw tuna until it has enough,
Yeah.
and then not a single bite more will go.
Yep.
And the interesting thing is that works in human beings too.
Sure.
And that is when your body simply tells us, stop,
Yeah.
I got enough. On this planet, the soil will produce a certain amount of calories.
Yeah.
That could be, rice or potatoes or corn. But if we grow trees, let's say we have a mango plantation on 1 hectare land, it is actually possible to produce the same amount of calories as if we would be growing rice.
Wow. Really?
So now, if the population would transition to a tree food to get their calories instead of a staple food that requires deforestation,
Yeah.
guess what the planet would look like?
Yeah. But you've still got productive land under the trees as well.
Of course, you add animals to it, you add herbs and vegetables, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Now we're going into more the permaculture,
Sure.
multi-crop, multi-diverse systems. Of course, you can't use the same machines and modern equipment, so now we have to decentralize.
Yeah.
Put all these bits and pieces together. Okay, so here we are, completely off the grid, completely decentralized, and we're trying to become sustainable on ourselves. And that is, it's a lot of work.
It's
It
amazing.
doesn't happen overnight, and we're just literally scratching the surface here.
Sure.
Okay.
So here we are going up the summit.
Right, so we do want to have a little bit of adventure in this whole experience here,
Yeah.
so there we go. And it's actually much, much easier than you think. So
Yeah, it looks
that
pretty-
rock has such a wonderful grip.
Good grip, eh?
You can
Yeah.
literally just almost walk it up straight. So like we said before, our goal is to integrate people into nature. But it also means to have people have the experience of nature. So we built bungalows that have no walls on purpose because we want people to be in contact with the elements at all times. Now we have a little bit of protections, if the wind becomes too strong or if the rain becomes too strong. But we chose the shape of our roof in a way where the air always flows off. Heat goes up, so the hot air always
Nice.
flows away.
Yep.
We're inviting the wind to come in.
Yeah.
So even though we sometimes have very, very hot temperatures here, it's in the 30s, but with the humidity, it can feel much more hot and sticky.
Yes.
Yeah, but we have no air conditioning or anything, because we're completely solar powered. We don't want to have a generator running. So by having that open space and this wonderful airflow, natural airflow, you're cool at any time.
Nice.
And also, we've built on purpose with natural materials. On one side for sustainability reasons, because if we leave, we want to make sure that things just go back to nature.
Yep.
And also the feel of living in natural materials is quite different. The vibration of a building that is built from wood or bamboo is very, very different than the vibration of a building that is with steel and concrete and cement and bricks.
Yeah.
And of course, the roofing material, the alang-alang, is much more cooling than it would be with even a tile roof or anything like that.
Yeah.
So that is life. That's
I'll
the
do
life.
my best.
That's the life.
Oh,
Enjoy the view.
oh, the view is amazing.
Absolutely. We want people to have the experience where they feel they're not missing anything.
Yeah,
There is very, very little, but what they have is what counts.
yeah,
And by embracing the essentials, we suddenly realize how little we actually need.
yeah,
We're going reverse psychology from
Yeah.
the world where they say, oh, you need this, you need this, you need this, buy more, consume more, and all of that. No, let's go back, have the essentials covered. Yes, we need to be protected from mosquitoes. We need to be protected from the elements, the sun in particular, and wind and weather and all of that. But in the end, we need very, very little to be comfortable.
Yeah.
By eliminating all that overstimulation that is usually happening in the world, you can finally take in what nature can give you. There's this beautiful term called biophilia, which means that people are healing in contact with nature.
right.
A lot of people are, I would say, alienated in cities and concrete jungles and all of that, right? So they don't even get to breathe fresh air anymore, or they don't even get to hear the sounds of the forest or all of that anymore. So here you will breathe fresh air 24/7, yeah?
Yeah.
You will have the sounds of nature, of the birds, of the wind, of the ocean, and you can just immerse your senses. You can come back to the essentials. I want Ekosymbiosis and Pula Samak to be a place where people get inspired and transformed.
Yeah.
And where they come here and they open their eyes and they see how little we need and how much richness and wealth is inside of us and in connection with nature. And that there's so much stuff in our world that we just don't need.
Amen to that.